Welcome to our exploration of how an ancient philosophy can be remarkably relevant in our hyper-connected world. Today, we're discussing how Stoicism, a philosophical tradition born over 2,000 years ago, can help us navigate the overwhelming flood of information that characterizes our digital era. Imagine waking up to dozens of notifications, hundreds of emails, endless news alerts, and the constant pressure to stay updated across multiple social media platforms. This isn't just a modern inconvenience. It's a fundamental challenge to our mental well-being and cognitive capacity. The average person today consumes more information in a single day than someone in the 17th century might have encountered in their entire lifetime. This digital deluge has a name: information overload, and its effects are profound: anxiety, decreased productivity, difficulty making decisions, and a persistent feeling that we're always behind, always missing something important. Our brains, evolved for a much simpler information environment, struggle to process this constant barrage of data, updates, and demands for our attention. But what if I told you that philosophers who lived in a world without electricity, let alone smartphones, had already developed mental frameworks to deal with overwhelming external stimuli? What if the solution to one of our most modern problems could be found in ancient wisdom? Stoicism emerged in Athens around 300 BCE and was later embraced by Romans like Seneca, Epictetus, and the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. At its core, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or maintaining a stiff upper lip, as popular misconceptions might suggest. Rather, it's a practical philosophy focused on distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot, developing inner tranquility regardless of external circumstances, and living virtuously in accordance with nature. The Stoics understood something fundamental about human psychology. Our suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. As Epictetus famously wrote, "People are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." This insight is profoundly relevant to our relationship with information today. Consider how we react to the news cycle. A single notification can trigger a cascade of worry, outrage, or fear. We feel compelled to know everything, respond to everything, have opinions about everything. But the Stoics would ask, is this serving you? Is this within your control? Is this essential to living virtuously? The Roman Stoic Seneca, who served as advisor to Emperor Nero, warned against exactly this kind of scattered attention nearly 2 millennia ago. He wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." He cautioned against the restless energy of those who consume too many books without proper digestion of their contents, a warning that seems almost prophetic in our age of endless scrolling and tab hopping. Seneca advised his friend Lucilius, "You must linger among a limited number of master thinkers and digest their works if you would derive ideas which shall win firm hold in your mind." This principle of selective attention and deep engagement rather than shallow consumption is precisely what many digital minimalists and information management experts recommend today. The Stoic approach to information management begins with a fundamental question: what is truly within my control? Marcus Aurelius, who kept a personal journal that would later become the renowned Meditations, repeatedly reminded himself to focus only on what was within his power to change. In our context, we cannot control the volume of information the world produces, but we can control how much we consume, how we respond to it, and what meaning we assign to it. This distinction between what we can and cannot control provides the first Stoic tool for managing information overload. By recognizing that we don't need to process every piece of information that comes our way, we free ourselves from the impossible burden of omniscience. We can begin to curate our information diet with intention, rather than consuming by default. The second Stoic principle that helps us is the practice of mindful awareness, what the Stoics called prosos. This is the art of paying attention to our own thoughts and reactions. When we feel the anxiety of missing out or the compulsion to check our devices, Stoicism encourages us to pause and observe these impulses without immediately acting on them. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, as Viktor Frankl would later say, echoing Stoic wisdom. In that space is our power to choose our response. By developing this awareness, we can begin to break the automatic cycles of digital consumption that leave us feeling drained and scattered. We can ask ourselves, does this information align with my values? Will it help me live more virtuously? Is it worth the portion of my finite life that I'm devoting to it? As we continue through this series, we'll explore specific Stoic practices that can help us regain control of our attention, curate meaningful information environments, and find tranquility amid the digital noise. We'll discover how the ancient wisdom of Stoicism provides not just philosophical comfort, but practical strategies for thriving in an age of information abundance. The irony isn't lost on us that in a world of cutting-edge technology and unprecedented connectivity, we're turning to thinkers from antiquity for guidance. But perhaps this speaks to something timeless about human nature and our eternal struggle to find peace amid chaos, clarity amid confusion, and wisdom amid mere information. Join us as we bridge ancient philosophy with modern challenges and discover how Stoicism can help us not just survive, but flourish in the digital age. Having established how ancient Stoic wisdom offers a timeless framework for our modern challenges, let's now explore specific Stoic principles that can be directly applied to our digital lives. These practical approaches can transform how we engage with the constant stream of information that defines our era. The Stoics developed their philosophy during turbulent times, wars, plagues, political upheaval, yet they found ways to maintain inner peace amid external chaos. Their methods weren't abstract theories, but practical daily exercises designed to strengthen the mind just as physical training strengthens the body. The first principle we'll explore is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. Epictetus opens his manual, the Enchiridion, with this fundamental idea: some things are within our power, while others are not. In our digital context, we cannot control the existence of social media, breaking news, or work emails, but we can control when and how we engage with them. Consider implementing what modern Stoics might call digital boundaries. This could mean designating specific times for checking email rather than responding to each notification as it arrives. Marcus Aurelius would likely approve of morning and evening technology-free rituals, creating space for reflection before and after the day's demands. The second Stoic principle, particularly relevant to our information-saturated lives, is hedonic adaptation, the understanding that humans quickly normalize to both pleasures and pains. The Stoics practice voluntary discomfort to break this cycle. Seneca, despite his wealth, regularly practiced periods of simple living to maintain perspective. In our digital context, this translates to intentional digital fasting, periods of disconnection that reset our relationship with technology. When we temporarily abstain from social media or news consumption, we often discover that we miss less than we feared. This practice helps us distinguish between information that truly enriches our lives and that which merely creates noise. Musonius Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus, emphasized that philosophy must be practiced, not merely discussed. He wrote, "Just as doctors demonstrate their art not by talking about medicine, but by treating patients, so too a philosopher should demonstrate the value of his teaching through his conduct." This brings us to the third Stoic principle, premeditatio malorum. the premeditation of evils. The Stoics regularly contemplated worst-case scenarios not to induce anxiety, but to diminish its power. By facing our fears directly, we reduce their hold over us. Applied to information overload, we might ask ourselves, what's the worst that could happen if I miss certain updates? If I don't read every email immediately? If I'm not aware of the latest trending topic? Often, the consequences are far less severe than our anxious minds suggest. As Marcus Aurelius advised, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Time was precious to the Stoics. Seneca lamented how carelessly people squandered their most valuable resource. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Consider the hours we spend mindlessly scrolling, consuming content we won't remember the next day. The Stoic approach would be to treat our attention as our most valuable currency and invest it only in what truly matters. This doesn't mean abandoning digital tools entirely, but using them with intention and purpose. The fourth Stoic principle is particularly powerful: the view from above, cosmological awareness. Marcus Aurelius regularly reminded himself of his small place in the vast cosmos. This perspective shift instantly renders many of our digital anxieties absurdly trivial. When we feel overwhelmed by the need to keep up with countless information streams, we can practice this cosmic view. Will this tweet, this news story, this email thread matter in a month, a year, a decade? This perspective allows us to engage with information more selectively and meaningfully. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of community, of surrounding ourselves with those who elevate our thinking and character. Seneca wrote extensively about friendship and its role in the philosophical life. In our digital context, this means curating our information sources and online communities with care. Ask yourself, do the accounts I follow, the newsletters I receive, the podcasts I consume contribute to my growth and tranquility? Or do they foster anxiety, envy, and distraction? A Stoic approach to digital life means intentionally creating an information environment that supports rather than undermines our well-being and values. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes not from controlling external circumstances, but from mastering our responses to them. Make the best use of what is in your power, he advised, and take the rest as it happens. This is perhaps the most liberating Stoic insight for our digital lives. We don't need to process every piece of information that exists. We don't need to have opinions on every issue. We don't need to respond to every message immediately. We can choose, with clarity and purpose, what deserves our precious attention. As we move forward in our exploration, we'll translate these principles into specific daily practices, Stoic exercises reimagined for the digital age that can help us maintain focus, tranquility, and purpose amid the information storm. Having explored the foundational Stoic principles that can guide our relationship with digital information, let's now transform these philosophical insights into practical daily exercises. These are the concrete tools, modern adaptations of ancient Stoic practices that can help us navigate the information deluge with clarity and purpose. The Stoics were, above all, practical philosophers. Their wisdom wasn't meant to remain in scrolls or discussions, but to be lived daily. As Epictetus emphasized, "For this is your duty, to act well the part that is given to you, but to select the part belongs to another." In our digital context, we must play our role mindfully, even if we cannot control the broader technological landscape. Let's begin with the morning ritual. Marcus Aurelius started each day with intentional reflection, preparing his mind for the challenges ahead. In our adaptation, consider implementing what we might call digital priming, setting your intentions before engaging with any screens. Upon waking, Instead of immediately checking notifications, take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, what truly deserves my attention today? What information will help me live according to my values? This simple practice creates a boundary between your essential self and the reactive digital persona we often default to. Many Stoics maintain journals. Seneca wrote nightly letters reflecting on his day's actions and thoughts. Create a physical, non-digital space for reflection, perhaps a simple notebook where you record insights worth preserving from your digital consumption. This act of manual transcription forces discernment. Only truly valuable information deserves the effort of pen and paper. The Stoics were also mindful of time's passage. Implement what we might call temporal boundaries, specific time blocks for digital engagement. Perhaps check email at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m. rather than continuously throughout the day. Use a physical timer, not your phone, to limit social media browsing to predetermined periods. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from choosing our responses rather than being driven by external stimuli. Practice the Stoic pause, a momentary hesitation before engaging with any digital content. When a notification appears, breathe deeply and ask, is this necessary now? Does this serve my purpose? The Stoics use visualization extensively. Before entering a crowded forum, Seneca would imagine potential challenges and prepare his responses. Before opening any digital platform, visualize yourself as a discerning curator rather than a passive consumer. Imagine information as water. You decide which cup to fill, knowing you cannot drink from every stream. Physical movement was integral to Stoic practice. Many philosophers taught while walking. Incorporate philosophical walks, periods of movement without digital devices where you contemplate a single important question or idea. This creates space for deeper processing that rapid digital consumption rarely allows. The Stoics also practice periodic withdrawal from society. Seneca wrote, "Whenever you can, withdraw into yourself. Those who withdraw into themselves are least alone." Create digital Sabbaths, regular periods of complete disconnection, perhaps one evening per week or one weekend per month. Live as though digital technology doesn't exist. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself regularly of life's brevity. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Apply this memento mori to your information consumption. If you had only 1 year to live, would you spend it as you did today? What information would suddenly seem trivial, and what would become essential? End each day with a Stoic review of your digital consumption. Ask yourself, what information served me today? What created anxiety or distraction? What will I do differently tomorrow? This reflection creates a learning cycle that gradually improves your relationship with information. As we conclude our exploration of Stoicism in the digital age, remember that these practices aren't about rejecting technology, but about engaging with it purposefully. The Stoics embrace the tools of their time while maintaining inner freedom. We can do the same. The information age presents unprecedented challenges, but also unprecedented opportunities for growth, connection, and learning. By applying these timeless Stoic principles, the dichotomy of control, voluntary discomfort, premeditation of challenges, the cosmic perspective, and intentional community, we can transform our relationship with digital information from one of overwhelm to one of empowerment. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This remains profoundly true in our digital context. True wealth isn't found in consuming more information, but in the wisdom to know what deserves our attention and what can be released. The ancient Stoics never faced Twitter notifications or email overload, but they understood the human tendency toward distraction and reactivity. Their wisdom, developed over centuries, offers us a path toward digital tranquility that no productivity app or technology can provide, because the solution has never been external but internal. As you move forward from this exploration, remember that Stoicism is not a philosophy of perfection, but of practice. You will be pulled into digital reactivity again and again. The Stoic response is not self-criticism, but patient recommitment to your intentions. Each moment offers a new opportunity to choose attention over distraction, purpose over randomness, tranquility over stimulation. In a world of infinite information, the most precious resource is not more data, but the wisdom to discern what matters. May the Stoic practices we've explored help you navigate the digital seas with greater clarity, purpose, and peace.